The way you beat a guy like that, you're not going to outbox him. If you're waiting on him and he's initiating and he's feinting you into counters and then he's countering the counter, you're going to lose that fight.
You know AJ's chin's gone, right? Like, and I'm not saying that I believe that. I don't believe that. I think getting beaten up by Daniel Dubois does not mean your chin's gone, especially when you keep getting up and you managed to rock him late in the fight and you stayed in the fight. And I think Daniel Dubois is a freak like... You know, AJ is a freak. He's a one-off. He's not. Jake Paul is not Daniel Dubois. But some people are genuinely giving Jake Paul a chance. That's blowing my mind here.
Now, looking at the age difference, we've got 28 years old compared to 36 years old. So I guess the advantage there goes a little bit towards Jake Paul. 28-year-old is better than a 36-year-old.
Max Kellerman recently shared why he thinks Jake Paul might beat Anthony Joshua. He says Joshua is very skilled and used to be a heavyweight champion, but he may be getting older. Jake Paul, on the other hand, is younger, full of energy and very confident. Kellerman says that if Joshua wants to win, he has to fight like his younger self, staying active, attacking more, and working harder than Jake the whole time.
And he's initiating and he's feinting you into counters and then he's countering the counter, you're going to lose that fight. Joshua has to impose his size, strength, youth, go to the body. He has to be willing to take certain risks. And if he does that, that's a winnable fight for him.
Kellerman says Jake Paul actually has a real chance to win, even though many people think he's putting his life at risk by fighting a former heavyweight champion. He talked about how Jake's mindset has changed over the years. Jake has fought many times, faced different kinds of pressure, and learned how to stay calm when everyone is watching. Kellerman believes Jake won't be nervous at all in this fight because he's already been in many big moments. The analyst says Jake Paul is made for huge events and even does better when the pressure is high. He even said Jake has a 100% chance to win, not because he's certain to beat Joshua, but because Jake fully believes in his training, his skills, and his team. Some experts also think Joshua might lose. They say he's older now, slower, and doesn't have the same powerful style he had when he was younger and undefeated.
To look at the experience that Jake has gained in the 5 years he's been in the sport. To be in your 12th or 13th fight in front of 80,000 people, at AT&T Stadium in front of 125 million viewers, that's not experience you can gain normally. So he's going to go into that event very calm and very composed. And I fully believe that he does 100% think he's going to beat Anthony Joshua, yes.
What about the weight? Will there be a limit for Joshua?
So there's a lot of discussion around the weight. Joshua fought Usyk twice. Both of those times, Usyk was 221 pounds. Joshua was 240 to 245. When Jake fought Mike Tyson last year, 227 pounds. I expect Jake will come in anywhere between 225 and 230, and Anthony Joshua has a weight limit of 245 pounds.
There will be those, as you're aware, that will look at it and criticise this fight. There already have been, haven't there? They'll say it's a real mismatch. What would you say to them? Are we going to be watching sport at its purest?
I would say it's much less of a mismatch than what you saw with AJ and Francis Ngannou, who a massive man, but relatively no boxing experience. I would say it's much less of a mismatch than AJ's 9th or 10th fight against guys who've been knocked out 20 to 25 times. Given AJ's pedigree, Jake is built for this. Jake is built for the big moments. So do I think it's dangerous for Jake Paul? Absolutely. Do I think it's also dangerous for Anthony Joshua? 100%.
I mean, we're just watching some of these punches being thrown now. Can he take something like that, Jake Paul?
Alexander Usyk took it, right? I think that was a perfect 1-2 combination by Joshua, again, on a fairly stationary fighter in Francis Ngannou, who had a good performance against Tyson Fury. But I don't think Tyson Fury took that fight serious for 1 second until he was knocked down.
They say that even though Joshua used to dominate heavyweights, now he fights more carefully and gets hit more easily. Fans also point out that Jake Paul has improved a lot. He has more power, better stamina, and stronger basics than he did before. So to them, the age gap and how both fighters have been performing recently make this fight more exciting than most people thought.
If it all goes incredibly well for Paul, he's not going to land on Joshua, is he? Joshua's going to be far too skilled in evading whatever Jake Paul could throw at him.
Because I don't believe he's an evading fighter. I think he's one of those fighters that is extremely powerful to where a fighter is simply afraid. The problem is that all of the pressure's on Joshua at the moment. So Jake Paul, if he gets knocked out in 12 seconds, he should get knocked out. The problem is as soon as Joshua starts taking damage, all of a sudden he's thinking, the world is watching me, I'm a professional fighter, and I'm getting beat off a YouTuber. All of the pressure is in Joshua, and that's a lot that can weigh on a man.
Just Jake Paul can't damage him, though. Like,
people can damage him, though. He's went down.
No,
in a
people
lot of
can.
World
People
champions.
can. Yeah. No, like, Alexander Usyk can. Daniel Dubois can. But these are supreme athletes. Jake,
completely correct.
Paul,
Yes, there's a difference in someone who's been boxing their entire life versus a YouTuber. I completely understand that, but you can't deny that Jake Paul has power. I think it's one of his only attributes. I think he's a very poor boxer, but what he does have is a weird technique where you don't
How do
know
we
what
know he's got power? How do we know he's got power?
He's knocked people out.
What Ben Askren and
Tyron
Tyron Woodley?
Yeah.
Tyron Woodley was
Like, come
arguably
on.
one of the best UFC fighters there's
Come
ever
on,
been.
mate. Like, you
No,
can't...
mate. I'm not suggesting that. I'm not suggesting that he's going to go in there and walk Joshua all over. But you can't deny that he has lights out power. It's just something
I would deny that. I would deny that he has that kind of power.
Yeah, in
against
an
someone like
amateur
AJ.
boxing ring, yeah, fine. But not against a two-time world champion we're talking about here.
Again, I understand the contempt in what I'm saying, and I do see how it is completely stupid thinking a YouTuber could break Anthony Joshua. But the thing is that he's going to be training for this fight. Joshua has all of the world looking at him thinking you should walk him over. If it gets 2 rounds, 3 rounds inside, I think Joshua loses. Yeah.
You think he gets beat?
I mean, I think the pressure will get to him. I think if he loses to Jake Paul, he's the embarrassment to boxing. And if you get inside 3 rounds where you've not put him away like everyone thinks you will, all of a sudden that pressure to finish the fight as he should is going to gain and gain and gain.
Is there any truth in this, Jamie? Can you see a world where Dan's theory is basically this geezer can punch and he therefore has a puncher's chance? I think he's got no chance. Like slim, if none.
No chance.
None. Literally none.
No chance.
No. It's one of them, innit? I honestly, without going like extreme, Dan, I think Anthony Joshua, if he could only use one hand, wins the fight. I honestly do.
This is the thing, and I love Joshua. You know, he's arguably the pride of Britain when it comes to boxing. He's a great fighter. But could you say he's past his best? Could you say that he's been tested too many times? The thing that it relates to me is when you look at Silva in the UFC, as soon as he got knocked out, his chin became glass. And I think that's the same with Joshua. I don't think he can take a punch anymore. I think he's one of those people where it's almost he damages way too easy now. And it's one of those things where I think when you're a boxer and you've had a few defeats and you've had a few lights out moments.
Tony Jeffries, an Olympic boxer, explained another reason why people should take Jake Paul seriously. He said Jake has every resource a fighter could want. He can pay for top trainers, the best conditioning coaches, sports psychologists, nutrition experts, and great sparring partners. Because Jake has money, he can create the perfect training camp without skipping anything. Jeffries also said Jake knows this is the toughest fight of his career, so he will train harder than ever. Plus, Jake has youth on his side. Jeffries reminded everyone that in boxing, being young is a huge advantage because younger fighters recover faster, train harder, and usually come in stronger and more full of energy.
Now looking at the age difference, we've got 28 years old compared to 36 years old. So I guess the advantage there goes a little bit towards Jake Paul. 28-year-old is better than a 36-year-old. But that being said, we've got talking about experience and everything else. What comes with being 36 years old at Anthony Joshua's level. And then like I mentioned, the heavyweights kind of seem to prime a little bit older. Now come down to the height and the weight. This is the big one. 6'1" versus 6'6". 200 pounds versus 252 pounds. We got a 252-pounder in Anthony Joshua. The reach advantage is a lot, which we would expect. Amateur fights, we can see that Jake's only had 1, where AJ's had 43, but 43 of them are including at the highest level, Olympic level. And yes, he won the Olympic bloody gold medal, if I don't need to remind you. Then the pro record, Jake Paul has had 13 fights, lost 1. AJ has had 28 fights and he's lost 4 with 25 KOs. And the one person that Jake Paul lost to was Tommy Fury. Now, can we compare Tommy Fury with Anthony Joshua? Not at all. It's like night and day. So now I'm going to talk about the rules of this fight, and I'll give you my prediction, which is going to shock a lot of people after this. So, what are the rules? The bout will take place at a heavyweight, obviously. It's going to be 8 3-minute rounds. You might think, well, that's better for Jake Paul, and I'm thinking, not really. It's better for Anthony Joshua because he's just going to go all out for them 8 3-minute rounds. And imagine that, Anthony Joshua blasting at you, 6'6", whatever he is, 250 pounds, throwing big bombs at you. Anyway, both fighters will be using 10-ounce gloves for the duration of the contest. Why have they got that? It says both fighters will be wearing 10-ounce gloves for the duration of the contest. What do you expect? Them to take them off halfway through and switch them to 12s? But I guess these days, anything happens in boxing, right? The boys will follow similar rules to Jake Paul and Mike Tyson in November, but that fight was 8 2-minute rounds and 14-ounce gloves. Not similar if it's smaller gloves and 2-minute rounds. Who wrote this for DAZN? It marks the first time Joshua will have contested less than 10 rounds since 2015.
Many analysts talked about a different issue, not the fighters but boxing itself. They said the sport created this situation. Even though Joshua is a world champion and an Olympic gold medalist, the biggest payday of his career came from Jake Paul's offer. This means Jake brings more attention, more money, and more interest than many top real contenders. Experts say if Jake's offer is bigger than a normal heavyweight title fight, then the sport has changed and now allows these crossover fights. They also say you can't blame the fighters for choosing the biggest paycheck. Some people claim Joshua can't take punches anymore or that his chin is weak because of his past knockouts. But the analyst explained that losing to another heavyweight like Daniel doesn't mean Jake Paul will beat him. Joshua still has top-level skills, huge punching power, and years of experience. People are exaggerating his decline. If Joshua stays focused and disciplined, he still has a very strong chance to win the fight.
First off, Jake Paul, and this is the real funny thing, he's giving Anthony Joshua, Jake Paul is giving Anthony Joshua, the heavyweight legend, right, in our lifetime, his career high payday. Jake Paul is a fucking A-side. Jake Paul is saying, you're going to be a 245 maximum, motherfucker. Like, Jake Paul's giving orders here. Jake Paul's first on the fucking headline. Like, that is also blowing my mind. Even Eddie Hearn said in an interview earlier this week, he's going to get more for this than he's going to get to fight Tyson Fury if the Fury fight happens. Like, and speaking of Tyson Fury, and this brings me on to you, Joey Knight. How the fuck has Tyson Fury let Jake Paul put the gloves on and get in there with Anthony Joshua before he did? How are you going to fucking look your mate in the eye?
Fury probably had the offer, mate. He's not into the old circus shows. You know what I mean? He's not into that malarkey.
Oh my God.
He's probably fuming that his brother didn't get the fight, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But listen, I don't know, man. Like, I look at this fight with Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua, and you constantly hear it. You heard it with Mayweather and McGregor, and you hear it with so many fights. Does it damage their legacy? I would like you to give me an example of a time someone's legacy has been damaged.
And Ghana Fury.
From an individual fight. Yeah. No, but in Ghana Fury ain't really, has it? Like, what I'm saying is, I think that having fights over a prolonged period of time, like Roy Jones Jr., that can damage your legacy. But a one-off fight where realistically you're not going to take no damage. But then, do you know what this leads me on to?
Anthony Yarde gave a stronger warning. He told Joshua not to underestimate Jake Paul and said Joshua should hit him hard and take the fight seriously. Yarde thinks Jake is very good at creating hype and getting the world to pay attention. Jake knows how to turn a fight into a huge event, and that can distract opponents or make them too relaxed. Yarde said if Joshua goes into the fight feeling too comfortable, Jake could surprise him.
Put you in a shell, does it not?
Absolutely. I mean, you literally go into survival mode because of the size difference. You know, you question your manhood, the lot. Everything goes out the window because, like I say, the power of just a jab. And bear it in mind, when you spawn bigger guys, you must have been in the gym, Joe, you spawn people below and above. So, you know, if you're the bigger guy, you bring the power down, you take your time. And AJ was essentially taking his time. And even just flicking out that hand, flicking out that jab, the force is crazy. So I really do fear for Jake Paul.
On power, that's what I mean. I've people have been ringing in TalkSport, these boxing experts. Who the knows it there, right?
Daily Perales had one of the strongest reactions to the Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua fight, and all his concern was for Jake. Perales said he couldn't understand why Jake would take such a huge risk fighting someone as dangerous as Joshua. To him, this wasn't just another big event or a marketing trick. This was a fight that could truly put Jake in danger. He pointed out something simple but important: size and power. Joshua isn't just a heavyweight. He's a former unified world champion known for knockout strength. Perales said that standing in front of someone with Joshua's punching power is a whole new level of danger compared to anything Jake has faced before. He warned that even one clean punch from Joshua could change everything, and Jake might be crazy to take such a risky fight. Even though he knows Jake is confident and improving, Perales's main message was caution. He said this matchup isn't about hype, it's about safety. In his view, Jake is entering the most dangerous test of his career, and the consequences could be much more serious than fans think.
Mistaken here. If Joshua lands clean on Jake Paul's chin, he could end up in a very bad way. So I know it's all entertainment and they're going to break records and Netflix and all that kind of stuff, but we have to understand the dangers that are involved in boxing. And, you know, that's why I say people got to respect Jake Paul for doing this, because he's at risk.
He's at a big risk indeed. I saw something that David Hay was saying where people were kind of worrying for Jake Paul, and David Hay was like, well, he's only going to take a lot of damage if he goes and gets beaten up for 12 rounds. He just gets knocked out in one punch. That's probably one of the best things that could happen in terms of taking the least damage possible.
Yeah, David Hay is right, but also one punch can end your life as well. So you got the two sides. Yeah, he could get badly beaten up if it went 12 rounds, which can be worse long term for your health.
The boxing world is worried, saying Jake Paul is taking a huge risk. They believe he could get seriously hurt because he's fighting a natural heavyweight with big knockout power. They say Jake is brave, but bravery doesn't change the dangers of heavyweight boxing. One clean punch from Joshua could end the fight right away. These analysts think Jake is facing something much more dangerous than anything he has dealt with before. But at the same time, some experts think Jake's confidence will help him. They say he has built his whole boxing career on proving people wrong, and he always performs well when others doubt him. They also say Jake never runs from a challenge, and this fight is just another example of him stepping into something big.
Jake Paul has lost his mind. This is probably the worst mistake of his career. Even in the poster, you can see this is a David and Goliath story here. I mean, there's times where I thought Jake is a cruiserweight. There's times where I thought even he could be a light heavyweight. And now he's stepping in with one of the most chiseled, bona fide heavyweights in the world right now in Anthony Joshua. I'm about to break the internet over Jake Paul's face. I'm not sure if that makes any sense, but it sounds fucking demented, terrifying. And speaking of the insanity of this thing, here is what the first line is. Jake as a plus 800. I have a feeling that's going to shift even more toward AJ. AJ's the 18-wheeler going 90 down the straightaway, and Jake is in a golf cart going 10 miles an hour, headed right back at the 18-wheeler. It's going to be freaking destruction. Look at the reach. He's got a 6-inch reach on Jake, and trust me, the Chloe concept has told me the 6 inches is more than enough. Okay.
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned. See you next time.